Hello and welcome to Tête-à-tête with Tiwa. I'm Tinuke.
I'm Wale, Tiwa by the way.
Hello and welcome to Tête-à-tête with Tiwa. I'm Tinuke.
And I'm Wale.
So, today's question, Wale, is
what words of wisdom would you impart on your daughters?
Before they get married.
Actually, I don't know if it's said before they get married. Or well, as they prepare for marriage.
As they prepare for marriage. As they prepare for marriage, I think, for me, I would tell them to, well, as they prepare for marriage is a bit hard because at that point they're already at the point of marriage almost.
Not necessarily. When it says as they prepare for marriage, as marriage comes into their scope.
Okay. So I think what I would say is that they should be themselves, because I have a lot of friends who, in order to please a man, sort of they weren't themselves. You know what I mean? Like they changed certain aspects of themselves. I mean, there's one particular friend of mine who not changed. She knew what the guy wanted, so she became that. And then like 10 years into the marriage, she was like, I can't do this anymore. And then the guy was like, well, who did I marry? You know, so it was like, so I think one of the things I would say to them that is really key is to be true to themselves, to maintain who they are. Because I think you're going to lose a lot as a woman going into a marriage. You're going to lose a lot anyway, in the sense that you're going to lose your name. You're going to become somebody's wife, you're going to become somebody's mother. So there's a lot of yourself you're going to lose anyway, just by virtue of getting into that marriage. Or maybe let me say there's a lot of stuff that you could lose anyway, by virtue of getting into that marriage. So I think it's very important to be as true to yourself as you possibly can. And I do think that there are times you have to, compromise, fit in, for the better, for the greater good, but not that is your norm. So I think that would probably be what I would say to my daughters as they approach.
So before I answer that question, I wonder if it can be viewed from another angle. As opposed to, there's a lot of you have to lose. Could it be that there's a lot of you have to share?
Yeah, a lot of you have to share, but that's the absolute truth. But the reality is, in the situation, most women lose rather than share. Okay. And that's for different reasons. Sometimes it's their fault because they, you know what I mean? There's for different reasons, but most of the time it's a loss rather than a sharing. And then maybe there's some onus on the man as well to make sure that it's a sharing and not a loss.
Yeah,
but,
it's a two-way street.
So that's sharing, yes, absolutely, it should be shared, but it's not like you took my name or anything.
Never asked you not to use your name.
No, I said it's not like you took my name or anything.
Well, because I guess it's not the norm, is it?
Why must we do what's the norm?
Well, we mustn't always do what's the norm, but I'm sure it didn't even cross your mind to say, oh, Wale, come and be Wale Adelaja.
No, but you see...
Did it cross your mind?
No, it didn't cross my mind, but I'm going by your comment about share. So I think if we're sharing, then it's both ways.
Well, that sharing is okay, that's just a name bit. I think we're digressing here. But,
okay, answer the question. Answer the question.
Perhaps this is something we need to discuss. What would I tell my daughters as they prepare for marriage? First of all, they're all charlatans. They are. Sorry, no, I'm kidding. That's not true. So first things first is be yourself, because only yourself is sustainable through marriage. Yourself, your true self, is the only person that you don't have to pretend to be.
That's what I said.
Yeah, hang on, slow down. I'm with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. That you pretend, so that you won't pretend to be, and will always keep on coming out as time goes on, regardless of what life throws at your marriage. If you persistently be you, you will always come out. So whoever has married you as you knows exactly what he's getting. So no surprises there.
Did you know exactly what you were getting when married?
Yeah, I knew exactly what I was getting.
You didn't even say that with any amount of. Yeah, I knew exactly what I was getting. Yeah, I knew exactly what I was getting.
Yeah.
Like as if you are not pleased with what you got.
No,
Anyway, let's continue.
Wow. Wow. How did we get there? Whoa.
Because the way you said, yes, I knew exactly what I was getting, had no enthusiasm or anything in it.
Oh,
It was
I
like,
beg your pardon.
yeah, please try it.
I knew exactly what I was getting.
Thank you. Now you can continue.
Right. That was what I was getting. And I knew. Anyhow. Yeah. So that's one. Be expressive. Be as expressive as you can. And when I say expressive as you can, I mean don't hide your feelings. Don't pretend. Don't hide your feelings. Don't pretend. Because, you know, in life, we, at times, and I mean, guys are not, and I'm not speak about guys generally, guys are not, at times we're not that good at stripping and looking between the lines and under the covers and so on and so forth to see what really lies beneath. I'm not saying we're shallow, not by any means, but this is not something we're wired to do naturally. So in this case, we need some help. So to find out, being expressive helps to cut to the chase or to get to where we need to get to without having to go around the roundabouts. And when I say roundabouts, is the kind of things that can cause hurt and pain before we get to a solution.
Well, you see, I think I agree with you about being expressive, but I think that there has to be wisdom in that expression.
Yeah.
Because you can, you know, if you say be expressive, you could actually hurt more in trying to get your feelings across. If you don't use wisdom and you don't temper it or whatever, you could cause more damage.
Well,
you guys are all sensitive little human beings, you know.
as I was
Take
saying,
everything personally, ego or not.
well, as I was saying, yeah, wisdom will come into play, but this is a part. Going into marriage, you've got to apply a lot of wisdom because now you're dealing with another whole human being that has not grown up the way you have grown up, that doesn't have your, might have the same background, but you didn't grow up in the same house, family, so on and so forth. So there are going to be differences. And once those differences are there, you're going to have to use wisdom to deal with those people, or that person, I beg your pardon. All those people, as the case may be. Yeah, so that's that's another one of the things. I would tell my daughters that patience is a virtue. I know these days it's underrated, because again, we live in this microwave generation where it's got to be, whichever way. But patience is a virtue. It was always a virtue and it will continue to be a virtue. But of course, patience with the addition of wisdom. So that's another thing I would say. I would always say remain classy. Because classy is good. But it all depends. If you're going to marry a Jagudarari.
What's that?
I beg your pardon. That's, I don't know, a roughneck. If that's who you fall in love with, the roughneck. And the roughneck is not used to classy. And hey, who am I to say remain classy? Be you, that's the main thing. What else? I imagine there are a few other things I would say.
I think Another thing, I don't know.
I talked about being expressive, being patient. I would also say you see, I want to say something. I want to say always trust God, right? But I want to put a caveat behind that. So what I would say to them is your trust in God should be absolute, but also understand when you are trusting God with wisdom, i.e. with your eyes open, as opposed to trusting God with not blindly, but without reason. When I say without reason, I'm saying without reasoning.
Okay, I think you need to explain this because I don't
Right.
understand.
Okay. So, a woman is in an abusive relationship, and so she's trusting God that everything will be fine.
But she shouldn't stay there and be killed.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You're staying there, you're being beaten, abused, so on and so forth, and you're trusting God. The abuse is continuing. That's that sort of thing, and that's what I mean when I say that. What else? I imagine that there's a long list that I would say. And I guess these things I've already started to say bit by bit, but not, of course, not.
Hopefully they're not marrying soon.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm just,
Yeah, but I think, and that's why I said, do they mean in the lead up to marriage or just as they're about to get married? Because I think all of these things you have to input into your daughter before.
Yes.
It's not like just before she gets married that you're now saying all these things.
Yeah.
And I think one of the key things, again, that I always say when I go to any bridal shower or whatever is, but I still think it falls under my be you, remain, be true to yourself. It's the way your husband met you.
Right. Absolutely.
If that's how you address it. I'm not saying you can't change your style or whatever, but if you are a real funky dresser, if you are always together, you don't just marry and then start dragging your feet
no, you don't.
wearing a boo-boo and that sort of thing. So,
ain't nothing wrong with boo-boos,
okay, letting yourself go.
Right.
So I think that's very important because men are visual.
Because I did like you in that boo-boo you were wearing the other day.
Okay. When I say wearing a boo-boo, what I meant was letting yourself go because there's some very nice boo-boos out there now. But yes, I think it's also important to just make sure that you don't let yourself go as a woman because men are visual and so they like what they see and they need to like what they see. So I think that's what I think that still falls into the BU if he's married you in a certain way and you remain yourself. And that's not to say that there's no room for change. We are going to change and you should change, but in a positive manner as opposed to anything. Because when you're together, actually, the whole point of marriage is to make you a better person.
Yeah.
I think.
I imagine that change itself is actually different from just letting go.
Oh yeah, no, I know. But what I mean is that
what I mean?
Someone might misinterpret what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying that change is allowed. But what I would like to throw in here as well is, what would you say to your sons? That question was specifically about daughters, but what would you say to your sons?
I would say the same thing. I would say the same thing. First things first. Continue to be you. I would say to my sons, never let external influences govern your mind or interfere with your mind.
But you didn't say that to your daughters, is there a reason?
And I say that because in my experience, when it comes to the marriage, a woman's mind is more sturdy.
Okay.
And at times I find that men have been influenced.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I say that. I would say to them, understanding that you are taking on a queen, and she must be
Treated as such.
because you are a king, and you should never fail in that. There should be never any failure in that. I would say to them, as much as there's all the feminism and all that, treat your wife like an egg. So that you care for her as though she could be broken. Even though we know women are as hard as nails. But care for her as though she could be broken. Always be considerate of her. And I say these words differently from women because, like I said, as men we tend to think differently, and these are the kind of things that can affect us. So consideration being very key in your thought process. Always be considerate of her. Because, like I said, as men, these things are the ones that ail us. I would say also be patient. Things like be kind and so on and so forth, that's all part of the character anyway. So it's not,
But I would even say it on top. Even though it's part of them, I feel like I need to emphasize be kind.
Okay. Well,
Certainly too.
So
because I think also, and I'm not, women are complicated, not that men are not complicated, but women.
Did you say complicated?
Women are slightly more complicated than men, and I think sometimes.
Women can easily use the word complex.
And I think sometimes that a guy can get frustrated with that, and that's why I would say the be kind, as in just always be kind, because
Yes. Always be kind. That's good.
So that's what I would add to the be you, be kind.
Be considerate.
Yeah.
Yes. Be sure. Be confident.
And then I think one of my key things for both of them would be make sure God is at the center.
No, well.
You mentioned it.
Yeah.
For both of them, make sure God is at the center of your marriage.
Be absolute. Your faith in God. Never. In fact, I would say to them, never do things off the cuff. And when I say that, I mean consider, think through. Yeah. But then this is just, I don't even know if this is just about marriage, but as opposed to just about life.
Well, yeah.
Trying to, just apply these things to life in general.
But I think, obviously, when they say before marriage, what one is assuming is that this is the first time that the two of them are going to be living together in each other's space all the time. So there's certain things that obviously you have to be prepared for, or, but yeah. Okay, I think we've covered that. Is there anything else you want to add?
I imagine there is more
as in
stuff,
there's a lot of stuff, but
just off the cuff, yeah. Yes. So that's all we're offering for now.
But this is a huge topic, and we could literally have bullet point after bullet point, and each one kind of needs to be explained. So yeah, this is just for starters.
Okay.
Till the next time.
Au revoir.
À la prochaine.
Who?
Nothing.